The person you loved most just betrayed you. Not from across the room. Not from a distance. Right there, up close, in secret. Some people find out and completely lose it. They scream, they cry, they slam the door on the way out. But some people don't open that door. No, that's not quite right. They know they should open it. They just choose not to. That's what this video is about. The people who find out their partner is cheating and decide to stay anyway. To look the other way. To keep going. We're going inside the psychology of that choice, because it is not simple. It is not weak, and it is far darker than most people realize. So why do people stay after betrayal? Is it love? Is it fear? Here's the truth. It's both. And it's so much more than that. Some say they stay for the kids. Some say they can't afford to leave. But underneath all of those reasons, there's a psychological process at work that most people never talk about. And it doesn't just hurt you once. It eats at you, every single day, until it starts reshaping who you are. Let's start at the beginning. The very first thing that happens is a kind of emotional shutdown. A numbness. Psychologists call it dissociation, which basically means your brain disconnects from reality. To protect you from something too painful to process all at once. You know the feeling. Your partner comes home late again. Their phone is locked with a new passcode. You catch a faint smell of something unfamiliar when they walk past you. Your stomach drops. And then, almost instantly, your brain does something automatic. It says, number. That's not what this is. I'm overthinking it. It was just a work thing. You talk yourself out of what you already know. And here's the thing, that's not a lie you're telling yourself on purpose. That is your mind trying to survive. Because if you let yourself fully believe it, your entire life, as you know, it falls apart. And your brain knows that. So it flinches first. But when that dissociation becomes your everyday reality, that's when things get really dark. Because the next stage is self-blame. You look in the mirror every morning. And the voice in your head doesn't ask what did they do. It asks what did I do? Why am I not enough? Why couldn't I be better? Was I not attractive enough, exciting enough, present enough? You pile your own shame on top of an open wound. And once that kind of thinking takes root, leaving becomes even harder. Because now you're not just dealing with their betrayal. You're also carrying the weight of believing you somehow deserved it. Now stay with me, because this is where it gets genuinely strange. The more distance the cheating partner creates, the more intensely the betrayed partner clings. You'd think it would be the opposite, right? Betrayal should push people away. But it often doesn't. Psychologists describe this as an attachment distortion, caused by betrayal trauma. When the person who is supposed to be your safe place is also the source of your pain, your nervous system gets completely confused. It clings harder, not out of love, exactly, out of terror of loss. It's like holding on to the wreckage of a house that's already half collapsed. You know it's not safe, but it's yours, and the idea of letting go feels more dangerous than staying inside. So you start doing things that seem irrational from the outside. You look for evidence. You check the phone, the location, the receipts. And then when you find it, you put it away. You close the folder. You pretend you didn't see it. You become, in a way, a co-keeper of the secret. And this is where it gets wild. Because at some point, your survival instinct isn't just protecting you from the truth. It's actively helping them hide it. You make excuses for their late nights to friends and family. You fill in the gaps in their story. You become their alibi without ever being asked. Why? Because acknowledging the full truth means the relationship ends. And if the relationship ends, some part of you believes you end with it. Over time, this dynamic shifts into something that barely resembles a marriage anymore. It starts to look more like an addiction pattern. One person providing something the other person cannot seem to function without. Even when it's destroying them, the partner who's cheating gets bolder. They stop hiding as carefully. They sense, on some level, that they've already gotten away with it. And the partner who's staying gets quieter, more withdrawn, more empty. The psychological power in the relationship has completely flipped. And then the body starts to keep score. You can't sleep, or you sleep too much. You eat everything in sight, or you can't eat at all. Your body aches for no reason you can name. Your chest feels like something heavy is sitting on it. You feel short of breath in moments that should be completely normal. This is what happens when emotional pain has nowhere to go. It doesn't disappear. It moves. It shows up in your body. Chronic stress, suppressed anger, unprocessed grief. Your nervous system has been living in a constant low-grade state of alarm. And eventually that catches up to you physically. And here's something most people don't realize about people in this situation. They become hypervigilant. Every tiny thing becomes loaded with meaning. The tone of a voice. The timing of a text. The sound of a key in the door. Every small signal is analyzed, processed, feared. Your nervous system is running on overdrive, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then, exhausted, it shuts down. Not with a dramatic breakdown. Just with a quiet emptying. One day you realize you don't feel sad anymore. You don't feel angry anymore. You don't feel much of anything. Just a hollow, flat kind of nothing. Around the same time, something else starts to happen. You pull away from everyone else. You can't tell your friends. You're too ashamed. You don't want to hear them ask why you're still there. You don't want to see the look on their faces. So you go quiet, and the loneliness that follows is a whole different kind of pain. Because when you're cut off from the people who might reflect reality back to you, the distorted thinking gets louder. The longer you sit alone with it, the more your version of normal shifts. You lose your grip on what's okay and what isn't. But here's what I want you to know. There is always a breaking point. For most people, it's not a grand confrontation. It's one small thing that lands differently than all the others. Maybe it's a regular Tuesday night, and they come home late for the 100th time, and something just snaps. Maybe they hear their kid say something offhand that cuts right through them. And in that moment, everything they've been holding down comes rushing up at once. This is where one of the most powerful psychological forces in human behavior kicks in. It's called cognitive dissonance, that deeply uncomfortable feeling you get when your actions don't match your beliefs about yourself. Here's how it plays out. You believe you are a person with dignity, with self-worth, and yet every day you are choosing to stay in a situation that contradicts that belief. Those two things cannot both be true at the same time. So your brain forces a resolution. Either you keep rationalizing, I'm staying for the kids. It would be too expensive to leave. Maybe things will get better. Or you stop rationalizing and start moving. But here's the brutal truth about the rationalization path. The longer you walk it, the more it costs you. People in this pattern sometimes start completely reinventing themselves. Not for themselves, but to win back someone who is actively disrespecting them. Extreme diets, surgeries, changing their personality, their style, their habits, all to chase the attention of someone who has already shown them exactly who they are. And underneath all of this is something that took researchers years to properly name. It is the power flip. At the beginning, the betrayed partner holds the moral high ground. That's real. What happened to them was wrong. But the longer they stay, the more complicated that dynamic becomes. They start to feel guilty. Am I keeping this person trapped? Is this situation hurting the kids? Is this somehow my fault? They start carrying guilt that doesn't belong to them. The one who did the wrong thing is living freely. And the one who was wronged is drowning in anxiety, second-guessing every move they make. Let that sink in for a second. Now, if you go even deeper, turns out this pattern rarely starts with the relationship itself. It almost always connects back to childhood. Specifically to what psychologists call attachment style, which is basically the emotional blueprint your early relationships gave you for how love is supposed to feel. People with anxious or insecure attachment, meaning they grew up in environments where love felt unpredictable or conditional, often find it almost impossible to let go, even of relationships that are actively hurting them. Not because they're weak, because painful and familiar feels safer to them than healthy and unknown. That's not a character flaw. That's a survival pattern, one that made sense once, even if it's destroying them now. There's also another layer here. A lot of people in this situation tend to have what's called poor emotional boundaries, which basically means they've spent their whole lives prioritizing everyone else's feelings over their own. They've been taught, directly or indirectly, that putting themselves first is selfish, that sacrifice is love, that endurance is loyalty. But here's the thing, staying silent and suffering is not always about love. Sometimes it's about control. If I wait long enough, if I'm good enough, if I don't make waves, they'll come back to me. That belief, that waiting will fix it, is the most powerful illusion holding the whole thing together. And when that illusion finally breaks, it usually isn't because of a big dramatic event. Sometimes it is finding out there's a child involved, watching them walk in publicly with someone else. But sometimes the illusion breaks quietly, on an ordinary morning, standing in the bathroom, looking in the mirror, and seeing a stranger, or a child says something innocent, something simple, and it hits like a freight train. And in that moment, it becomes undeniably clear. The staying wasn't protection, it was a prison. You built it yourself, one small compromise at a time. And I want to be honest with you, because staying in this kind of situation can push people to very dark places. Places where they stop seeing a way out. If you are there right now, please reach out. A therapist, a crisis line, someone who can help you find solid ground again. Because here's what I know. People do get out, not always through a dramatic turning point. Not always because someone gave them the perfect advice. Sometimes it happens at the absolute bottom. When there is nothing left to lose and nothing left to protect. That's when the real voice comes through. Not the voice of fear. Not the voice of habit. Your actual voice. And it doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives on a regular Tuesday morning. In a quiet bathroom, in the reflection of someone who finally decides. They've had enough. This is not about forgiving them or not forgiving them. It's not about who was right or wrong. It's about one question that only you can answer. Do I want to survive this? Or do I want to actually live? Because staying silent wasn't your weakness. It was the hardest thing you ever did. But you were built for more than survival. You were built for a life that is actually yours. And somewhere inside you, you already know that. The only question left is whether you're ready to listen.